YouTube, welcome to a wet and rainy Thursday for me. I don't know when I'll get this out. I'm Jay, and I'm going to do a book tag. It's the second tome around tag created by Julie over at A Hungry Bookworm. And let's get right into the tag because I gotta go to work, which is often a refrain on this channel. Question number one. Do you buy secondhand books? For most of my life have primarily bought secondhand books. It's rare I was buying actually new books. Part of that was just as a kid, it's like I had limited pocketbooks, so I was kind of raised on the local secondhand bookstore in Kelowna, BC, where I grew up, and so that's where I got all my fantasy and science fiction, which I was super into as a time as a young teenager. What was your latest purchase? For latest purchases, I've got Sigrid Undset, the Masters of Hestvinken. Nice ye old was it plume copy of Sigrid Undset's. This is actually, I think, her follow-up to Kristin Lavransdatter, and she claims that this is her favorite novel. So I'll have to, it's a novel. It's like a trilogy that's all bundled into one thing, but which is probably one work, I suspect, like Kristin Lavransdatter. And the other one is Hilary Mantel, Bring Up the Bodies. I'll do it on this angle for right now because I'll show you this later in relation to another question. Number three, what condition do you find acceptable? Tatty or not, etc. When it comes for me for reading, I am not buying to collect or to hold on to for a long time, except in the most rare circumstances. So for me, basically, it's readable. There at one point, I live in a kind of a university town, so if everything is highlighted, I might skip it. But the odd underlining, or if it's a little bit, bashed up or whatever, I'm not particularly picky. The one thing I find I actually am picky at, I made my own cover to Hilary Mantel's Bring Up the Bodies, because this was a secondhand copy which has I guess that handsome face from a BBC production on the cover. It's also slightly ripped on the cover, but to be honest, the reason why I ended up doing that is I hate the movie tie-in covers for the most part. I think Clockwork Orange is probably the only one where it's like, oh, they actually took something from the movie and a graphic designer came up with a very graphic design for a Clockwork Orange thing. This is a much more symbolic, iconic version of Clockwork Orange. So I went and found a cover that I liked, and I pasted it over the torn copy that had a dude on the front who was trying to say that this is Henry VIII, and that's not Henry VIII. That Henry VIII is either in my head or it's those old portraits. So yes, that's my only like. Not super fan of that. And even then, push come to shove, I would buy it and then just make my own cover. Number four, after you have read said book, do you keep it for a reread or redonate it? This point, ye aged point in my life, I've gotten to think, if I ask myself the question, am I going to read it within the next 2 years? If I'm not going to read it within the next 2 years, unless it's something that's super rare that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to find again, I'll donate it. I really try not to keep stuff around in my limited little closet here, and just I've done too many moves where I've hauled around books that I've had for decades and have not read, and I'm look at them and I can say honestly, well, I'm still not going to read it for another couple of decades. So I donate. I am not, unlike some of my fellow compatriots, I am not a bookkeeper. I'm not interested in amassing a library. Maybe when the big singularity comes and all the lights go out, I'll be cursing that. But until then, most likely I'll get killed when the big apocalypse happens. I'm sure I'm one of those people who gets turned into a zombie at the beginning or drops dead of the plague or whatever. That'll be me, so I won't have to worry about reading. Whew, that's a load off of my back. Number five, do you have a favorite place you like to go when looking for secondhand books? Here in Victoria, I go to Bastion Books. We've unfortunately, like I guess a lot of places, we've had a big kind of contraction of our secondhand bookstores. On the Lower Mainland, there was a lot more secondhand bookstores. One that was just complete shambles. Everything was just jammed in everywhere randomly, which I'm sure would really bother most people from a more organized point of view, but it was always like a treasure hunt. And I mean, that's the thing with secondhand bookstores I love, is it's just such a treasure hunt. In the world, probably Powell's Bookstore in Portland is just my favorite bookstore. And even though it's kind of pricey, I would go there. Oh, I also go to like Value Village here, basically the kind of the charity thrift store. I'll look for books there, though in Canada that's still kind of expensive. Number 6, hardback or paperback. Do you have a preference? For me, it is definitely paperbacks. Hardbacks are big, heavy things that I guess people buy because they want to hold on to a book for a long time. And as I said, that's rarely a thing for me. Number 7, have you found any real gems? I guess it depends on what you define as a real gem, because I think of like, you know, my science fiction books. I love all the old like Robert A. Heinlein covers. These are the books that I bought as a young teen, and I just love these old covers. So I guess they're gems. For Robert A. Heinlein, look, it's a older dude in a robe proclaiming to two naked young women, which sort of kind of sums up Robert A. Heinlein to a certain degree. I have to say, I'm going to have to do some rereading of Heinlein at some point, but I can enjoy his covers, and he's a good writer. But I mean, other things that are gems to me is like in the Value Village, I found the Norton Anthology of English Literature. This is Volume B, 16th Century, which was a real gem, real find, and something I'm probably still going to continue using for my kind of references to Elizabethan literature, my kind of continuing Shakespeare reading. I got this for $5.98 apparently. The Scots Queer by Lewis Grassic Gibbons, which is one of my favorite books. So that's a gem. That's a real good deal. I'll leave it at that for the moment. Number 8, find a book from your shelves that you can donate to a good cause or your local charity shop, Goodwills. For me, because once I finish a book, I have to kind of make that decision. I have a pile of books, which at some point when I'm not lazy, I will donate to a charity shop. And that's sort of my pile there. So it will happen. It'll happen eventually. Sometimes it's the challenge of finding the right home for stuff like that. And number 9, go ahead and tag some people. I think everyone I know has done it. If you haven't done it, please do it. If you love secondhand books, and most likely if you're on BookTube, you're someone who probably has partook in the secondhand books. I do know that there are some people who they really hate secondhand books because they find them not clean. Like it kind of freaks them out on that kind of level, which would be an interesting thing just to hear about in that. A lot of people have done the tag, so let's just name some of the people who've done the tag, and I'll put links down below so you can check out their versions. Brian at Bookish, Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, Alec Black Books, Brian at Bookwadding, James Holder, Strike the Sun MD, kind of a newish booktuber who's in China, who's definitely slightly anxious about all the stuff that's happening in China at the moment. So, stay safe. Richardson reads, Dane reads, Noah, everyone who reads it must converse, which is another kind of relatively new BookTube channel that you could try out. Joel Swagman, the BookTube Goddess, Jason at Byways and Booklands, and of course, you should all try and subscribe to this next BookTuber. He's slightly smelly, and he's struggling. His subscriber count just isn't high enough yet. Is Steve Donahue? Definitely check out his thing, and check out the original tag by Julie over at Hungry Bookworm. Yes. So that's my version of this tag. More videos later.